Yes, hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Dribble podcast. My name is Craig O'Donoghue from the West Australian newspaper, taking you through another season of talking to guests from the Perth Wildcats, Perth Lynx and WA basketball in general to give you the best insight possible into what's happening in the sport throughout this state. In this week's episode, I'll be talking to Perth Wildcats import Brady Manek about his journey to the NBL. Plus, with Australian basketball icon Lauren Jackson preparing to play in WA on Thursday, we'll talk to Perth Lynx star Jessie Edwards about what it's like to be coached by her back in 2019. But first, let's talk to this man.
Slam down! Manek with a grown man's jam!
Yes, the grown man jam, Brady Manek with the grown man beard. He is a superstar at the moment. Welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Now, you are a fascinating story at the moment, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you this week, because I love what's actually happening with your family right now. You've had your dad here earlier, and now you've got your mum, Tina, and your aunt, Tonya, who are in Perth, but they've been travelling to Brisbane, they've been to New Zealand, they've been to Sydney this week as well. They've been everywhere, and it must be really cool to have so much support at the moment from the family.
Yeah, it's, for them to have availability and flexibility to be able to leave home for a few weeks and come hang out with me and come watch some basketball and just spend some time here. It's very cool. No one in my family had ever been to Australia except for me a few years ago, and they were all really excited to come. And now, since it's cold at home and it's getting warmer here, they're loving it.
They are hardcore, your mum and aunt. Like they weren't on your flights, is my understanding. They were flying by themselves. So they got to Brisbane, then they took the really early flight to New Zealand to make the most of their day there, and then spent 12 hours in Sydney in the layover so they could see the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House and Manly before flying back here. They love their touring, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. If they're going to come all this way, they're going to spend some time and be tourists. But it's been really good having them around, and I think they're enjoying themselves.
How good has it been to have them at actual games? Like, your dad was here watching you play as well. Like, to know that you got your family here to watch you in action. It's very rare for the imports to have their parents able to come over because it's so far away and they don't get the opportunity with holidays and stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. For me, it's nothing new. I've had the support of my family, and then really the mom, dad, aunt, uncle have been really on the move the last few years, and they've been traveling with me all the way from we started in high school all the way through college. Then I transferred, and then now here we've had a really good group of people travel and people want to watch me play, and it's really special. Like you said, not many people get that chance, and I'm thankful enough to have their availability from jobs and personal lives and just have them around. So
were you big travellers when you were living in Oklahoma as you were growing up, or has this been something that they've been able to do since all their kids have grown, or was travelling America something you did when you were a kid as well?
No, we weren't very big travel people. We would just go hang out at the lake or anything. What really started the travel for us was Little League Baseball. We started playing really competitive Little League Baseball, traveling anywhere around Oklahoma, around Texas. Went to Florida a couple times. Really just really big into baseball. And then basketball kind of grew on me and my brother in high school, and we kind of stuck with that and worked out for both of us to go to school for free. And that's when the real travel started, of hitting road games and traveling just to see us play.
So what were you as a baseballer? What position did you play?
So I was crazy story. So I was the little brother. So my brother is a year older than me, and he always played first, and he played first base, and I got stuck in the outfield because I was a year younger than everybody else, but I loved the outfield, and I ended up got into kid pitch, started pitching. So I played outfield and really pitched and then hit, but never really played infield. Wasn't a ground ball kind of person. I'd rather get a little bit more time to catch the ball.
And was it baseball that brought you to Australia the initial time you mentioned coming out here, or was it basketball, or was it nothing?
I came with so I came with the University of Oklahoma. Going into my freshman year, playing basketball. We spent a few days in Auckland, a few days in Sydney, and a few days in Cairns, and we played 4 games, was here for about 14 days, and it was a lot of fun.
Did that help you to make the decision to come to Perth, having been to the country and knowing that not a bad place to live, with some sun and some sea and some nice people and speaking English and things that a lot of the players struggle to get when they're going to some of the European places?
Yeah, I would say it helps, but being around helps. I think it more kind of put a light on the league. Wasn't really about where I was going, but I knew a little bit more about the NBL because you don't really hear about it back home as much. You hear a few star players, yada yada yada, but it was never a big conversation. But when I came over here, I got to play against teams, obviously without the imports and some of the better players, but I played the Kings and the Taipans and just got familiar with it. And I think it helped the decision a little bit, but just the familiarity with it.
You certainly played some big games over your time. I don't reckon you've ever played in a bigger game than this one.
Got to keep Manek off the glass. Love. And they don't. Oh, Manek! You saw that coming, Raph. Goodness. Nobody saw down. Manek rising to the occasion.
So that occasion is the NCAA Championship game against the Kansas Jayhawks in April. Brady had a double-double with 13 points and 13 rebounds. He can also throw in 4 blocks, but unfortunately his team lost. But there were 69,000 people there. That's more people that can fit into Optus Stadium. The only stadium big enough to hold it here in Australia is really the MCG or maybe the Olympic Stadium. What was that experience like, playing in front of that many people?
It was unbelievable. If you look at our season and our journey to get there, it wasn't supposed to happen. And for us to get a good draw in the NCAA tournament and then start winning games, start beating opponents, kind of the puzzle pieces started, falling just right. And it was unbelievable. And get to that game, it was really, really special. Like I said, there's almost 70,000 people there, and it filled up the New Orleans Saints football stadium. You have all kinds of students, fans, everybody's watching. Celebrities are there. It's really cool. It's a very cool experience, very cool stage to play on. And for me, I'm just thankful I got that opportunity. It doesn't happen very often for many people.
To be on a football stadium to play basketball, like we saw it here when the Australian team played the US in a World Cup warm-up game, and there was thousands of people in Melbourne at Marvel Stadium, but it's the court almost got lost out there in such a big arena. What was it like playing, looking up, going, man, this arena, this stadium is enormous?
Yeah, it's cool. So they put it out there in the middle. They pull some chairs, some bleachers out. The stands feel like they just go out forever, and there's so many people. It's so loud. The city on the way there's thousands of people walking around. It is even if people don't play in it, it's a very cool experience to even just be at. It is a cool game.
And you were huge throughout the latter stages of that tournament. The Sweet 16 game, you went 13 points and 8 rebounds. The Elite 8, you were 19 points and 8 rebounds. The Final 4 was 14 points, 4 rebounds and 3 blocks. And then we mentioned in the final. What did playing on such a massive stage do for you in terms of a development point of view, a confidence point of view, just everything to do with the game?
I think it helps a little bit, but for me, I kind of went into that tournament and that season knowing that it was my last year of college and I've got nothing to lose and might as well just enjoy it and have fun. And I think that's what we did. And us being there, we took advantage of making the tournament and getting good wins, and we just kept building and building, and we got there. I think by the time we got to the national championship, couldn't have much more confidence of going into stuff, and we felt on top of the world, and it was so much fun. It had so much support, so it was it's just really special. You don't really get that every day, and that doesn't happen to everybody. So for us to kind of sit back and think about how special we are just to make it there, it was really cool.
Talk about things that don't happen every day or to everybody. Being a Tar Heel meant you went to the same college as Michael Jordan, and you got to play in front of him in January when the NCAA championship team from 40 years earlier got together and celebrated their reunion. Tell me what it's like to look over and see Jordan courtside when you're trying to play.
Yeah, it's strange. So we knew that they were recognizing the team. We didn't know if he'd be there. We're warming up, and they kind of shut the curtains to the tunnel so people couldn't see who was back there. They never do that. So that was kind of weird, and we started to get up for the national anthem, and we're standing there, and right when the national anthem starts, he just kind of slips in and gets to the scores table while everybody's occupied, and get to play in front of him. Had a really good game against NC State. We got the win. Came into the locker room afterwards and spoke to us. Really cool. It's a very weird feeling just to have someone of that legend status in front of you. It's very cool. Getting to play at the same school is very cool, and it was a very, very awesome experience.
Did he speak to you personally, or did he speak to the entire team? Like, how did he approach it? Was it a one-on-one conversation that went for 10 or 15 seconds with everyone, or was it standing up for 5 minutes telling you how well you played as a group?
It was more standing up in front of the team. We weren't playing well throughout the season at that time, so he kind of gave us, wouldn't say it was a pep talk. It was more of a, got to start listening, you got to start buying in, that kind of talk. And it was very good, and he's very, very cool to be around, and it was an awesome experience.
Now, we know you're known as a three-point shooter, and that day you nailed 5 of 7 attempts from the perimeter, scoring 17 points as the team won 100-80. Like, were you inspired by his presence that day? Did you look at it and go, this is my chance to perform in front of the legend?
I don't think so. I don't think that was the approach, but I think the approach was just the atmosphere was really good. It was against NC State, who's 20 minutes away. It's a big rivalry, and I think it was more just, we got to win this game and let's have fun doing it, and him being there just made it even better, kind of put a little bit more energy in the room. But yeah, it was really cool.
Do you pinch yourself a little bit that the year that you've had, like to have that happen, to have the championship game happen, to have your professional career begin? Like, it's a pretty big 2022, isn't it?
Yeah, the last year and a half of my life has been very, very interesting. I've done things that I didn't think I'd ever do. I've been places I didn't think I've ever be to, and yeah, I'm just very thankful. It's a very awesome experience, and for me to be able to, transfer, leave home, go to a school, make such an impact, have an awesome year, and then now play professional and still not have to sit at a desk and do a desk job. I mean, that's what I want to do, and that's why I want to play basketball. So I'm just really excited and thankful to still be playing.
It is a pretty cool job being a professional athlete, I would have thought. I mean, there's a lot of travel. Like, how hard was it when you arrived here without your family initially and had to settle into what's a really different environment to what you would have ever been used to?
Yeah, it's weird. Everybody's asleep during the day. For me, I always talk to my parents, call them, talk to them, play Xbox video games with my friends, and it's weird because everybody's on different time, and having to move over here and having to figure stuff out on my own. It was different, but it's been good so far. It's been a lot of fun, and like you said earlier, my family's been able to visit and been able to figure out the video game situation pretty well as well.
And you did have someone who you'd met before when you arrived here. You and Luke Travers were actually at the G League Elite Camp before the NBA draft at the exact same time. Did you realise that when you'd signed with the Wildcats that you'd actually been with him in that room? There were 40 of you only who were at that camp. Did you realise that he was a Wildcat when you were arriving over here?
Yeah, when I signed, I realized when I was there, I didn't know. So we were actually at the G League camp, and then I played against him in Summer League as well. I was with Charlotte, and he was with Cleveland. So I'd seen him. I had been around him, never spoken to him or nothing, but had played against him 2 different occasions.
Yeah, one of the games you played against him at the G League camp, he actually scored over you in one play, and you went down the other end and scored over him in the exact next play. It's amazing how little things happen, how the world comes together. I doubt you'd remember that, given there's so much that's been going on. But yeah, it's when the vision's available on YouTube, he goes up, makes a layup, and then you shoot a 3-pointer straight over the top of him on the next act of play.
That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that. But I remember him. I mean, you can't miss a guy who's got a mullet in the middle of the G League camp. I mean, it's just nobody else has one. So I definitely remember him. I definitely remember playing him, and then I remember playing him Summer League, and I got here and got to know him pretty well.
Do you remember playing against John Mooney, another former Wildcat, when you're at college? That you didn't only play him. I think you only played him once, but was he someone who you recalled as well when you were signing over here?
Yeah, definitely. So I had known people that had known people who kind of kept me in the loop of how he was doing over here while he was playing here. So that was a good push for me to come here as well. But I remember playing him. Played Oklahoma versus Notre Dame, and we played at Madison Square in New York. And I had a pretty good game, and it was very fun. It was around Christmas time. It was a lot of fun. We had got a couple days to spend in New York City, so I, again, had my travel crew, had my mom, my dad, my aunt, and uncle. So it was a very cool experience. And I remember playing him. I played a lot of guys in college, and it's weird to see the guys that have come through the NBL and guys that have kind of crossed paths but hadn't really spoken to, but they've kind of been in the same situation as me.
And since being here, you've been to an AFL final, you've been to Kings of Leon and had someone wear your jersey on stage, you've been to Guns N' Roses, you've been doing a bit off the court, like you've really embedded yourself into the lifestyle of being in Western Australia. What's been the highlight so far off the court of all the cool things you got to do?
So I would say there's 2. The Kings of Leon was a lot of fun, got to take a few of the guys, and it was just weird because it just kind of fell in my lap, and I decided to take a few of the guys with me. I didn't expect anything to even go to that. I didn't know they were even coming to town till like 4 days before, and that was a really cool experience. I think everybody enjoyed it. And then the other one was the Crocodile Park in Darwin. That was a lot of fun. I was the only player that actually went, but it was a lot of fun. Got really close to some massive creatures, and got to have a nice little experience up there. So
that a dream? That's been something you'd been looking at before you got here, was it?
Yeah. I'm growing up in America. You watch Steve Irwin and stuff, and it's just kind of what people think of Australia, and it's what I wanted to do when I got here. So I definitely took advantage of it. Hopefully
Wildcats fans can scream out, "Crikey!" next time you do something impressive on the court. It was a huge win for the team last weekend with the victory over New Zealand, and now you travel to Adelaide. That's where you had your breakout game earlier in this year. You must be feeling really confident going into that one yourself.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see where we're headed. I know we've had a few bad games, but we've also had some good flashes. So I'm excited to see what happens and just get back to it. We got to keep building, got to keep playing well, and got to look at that last game and some earlier games in the season for what we need to do to win.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to see the upward trajectory that we've seen from you since that Adelaide game, and how well you've been shooting and having such an impact for the team. So hopefully that continues for Wildcats fans. Hopefully your mum and your aunt continue to enjoy being in Australia, and we'll look forward to seeing you, hopefully, as the team maintain this winning run this weekend when you play against Adelaide. So thank you very much for coming onto the Dribble.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Our next guest is a fantastic sporting story. She's the Perth Lynx centre, who is the daughter of a WA football legend, earned her first WNBL opportunity as a 17-year-old, and has travelled the world to fulfil her basketball dream.
Garvin inside to Edwards.
M3 goes back to Edwards, puts up the jump shot, and it's good for 2.
Edwards takes on Scherf and does it exceptionally well.
Yeah, she's becoming a very important part of the Perth Lynx. Jessie Edwards, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Now, big week for the club this week, big week for basketball in this state because Lauren Jackson is coming to town and everyone will be talking about her and a lot of people will be looking at her going, I wonder what it's like to play against her or to have an involvement with her. You've actually been coached by her, which is a really unique position to be in. You were under her at the Albury Wodonga Bandits in 2019. What was that like?
Well, I was honestly really shocked when my agent called me and he was like, oh, Albury Wodonga wants you to go and play for them and their coach is Lauren Jackson. So I was pretty surprised because, like a lot of girls, I looked up to her growing up playing basketball. And, she's such a lovely person to play under and I honestly learned so much from her. So I'm really grateful to have that opportunity to have played under her. So
you had a really big year under Lauren too. You averaged 17 points and 8 rebounds per game. What did you learn the most from her at that point?
I would say a lot about physicality in the post. And, I mean, she's one of the best to ever do it right. So a lot about physicality and finishing and just working with my teammates. I had an incredible team with me there. I had Nat Hurst and Hannah Zavik and so many other amazing players with me.
So it would be unique, I would have thought, to have a coach who's played your position before. Were you able to actually get out on the floor and do things with her, or was her body banged up to the point where she really wasn't able to do too much at that point?
At that point, she was still pretty banged up, though. I was lucky enough to get some individuals where I would play offense in the post against her. And even though she was still pretty banged up at that point, she was still pretty tough to play against, I'm not going to lie.
Was it intimidating to have been under her, or was it exciting to have been coached by her? Like, it'd be a really unique position, I would have thought, when you haven't played WNBL for a few years at that point because you'd left the West Coast Waves and gone to college. So you've come back and all of a sudden it's like this superstar is teaching you how to play. How did you find it?
Well, honestly, at first, when I first got to meet her in person, I was a little bit starstruck because I was thinking like, oh my God, she's right in front of me. But I thought I have to play it cool. So I just acted as best as I could, like a normal person. And I was really excited to play under her. And I just knew what an opportunity it was to be able to be taught by one of the best to ever play.
What sort of a coach was she? Everyone's got their own different style. Can you remember what she sort of honed in on?
I think she was a really unique kind of coach. I haven't had another coach like her before. She was very, very player-oriented in the sense that she gave a lot of trust to us players, while still guiding us, of course, as the coach, but, asking all of our players' opinions on things and very, very team-centered, player-centered approach.
And, of course, then she made the comeback and ended up playing for the Albury Bandits in the NBL 1 and then went to the World Cup where she got the perfect exit on the international stage.
We'll always remember Lauren Jackson's last game. Stand up and applaud, Australia.
How good is this?
One of the all-time greats in any sport that this country has produced. She goes out on her terms. Lauren Jackson, you bloody superstar.
And she was sick over the weekend with gastro and couldn't play, but she is 100% fit now to come and play in Perth. It'll be the first time she's been here in a game since 2009. What do you think it'll be like to play against her?
I think, first off, I just think it'll be a tough matchup, to be honest. Like, even though, she's a little older now, she's still incredibly, incredibly tough as a player and a person. So I think it's definitely going to be a tough matchup against her.
She's so unique in so many different ways. Even her build is different to yourself. So when you match up on someone like that, you'd be accustomed to probably Lauren Scherf's a bit bigger than you as well. How do you focus on what your strengths are going to be and how you're going to use that against her?
Well, I'm clearly not as strong as her, but I'm just going to have to use my agility and speed, I think, to try and beat her that way, because I don't think I'm going to outmuscle her.
No, I think many people can outmuscle her, can they? Your journey, it's quite remarkable. It started at the Kalamunda Suns at just 14, then you get your chance at the West Coast Waves when you were 17, went to college in the US, then you played in Germany, went over to Albury, then got your chance in the WNBL again in Adelaide, had one season with the Lynx, lost your spot, went back to Coburn, and now you're with the Lynx again. It's a long road, isn't it, to be successful? You have to be prepared to have a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was back in high school, and I had decided that one of my goals, basketball-wise, was to play for the Perth Lynx. And I've been saying it my whole career since I've been in the US, when I was in Germany, when I was in Albury-Wodonga. Every single year I've been saying I want to play for the Perth Lynx. And so I suppose just being persistent and not giving up has been one of the biggest things in my basketball journey. As you said, I've bounced around, like from country to country to different states and things like that. But just, keeping that goal in mind has been one of the biggest things for me. So I'm super happy to finally be back playing for Perth.
So that most recent NBL One West season where you were terrific, like you dominated in nearly every game, and was that a goal that you'd set to get back onto the list by just forcing Ryan's hand and saying, you have to pick me?
Absolutely. That was pretty much my goal. The summer that I didn't get back into the team, I worked really, really hard in the off season with Andy Stewart, who's down at Coburn now. I worked with Tyrone as well. Every session I went down, my mantra in my head was, I'm just going to improve so much that Brian's going to have to pick me again.
And you're a different player now as well. Compared to the hub year in Queensland, you're a vastly different player who got more skills, more diversity in the way you play. What did you focus on to make yourself that player?
I really focused on getting more comfortable playing outside, because Ryan's offense is such a spread the floor kind of offense that you really have to be able to either shoot competently when you need to from the outside, and also just feel comfortable moving the ball around the outside. And that's one of the major things that I was focusing on during my off-season.
We spoke to you a couple of weeks back when we had the story about yourself and Emma Gandini and Amy Atwell and your famous families on the back page. Your dad, Craig, is a Sandover medalist in the waffle and is at every single game. He loves watching you, and he was telling me that day when we were chatting that he never took it easy on you. You two, when you went head-to-head, it was always a tough contest in the backyard.
Yeah, I remember. He actually, when I was playing against him once, he threw the basketball at the backboard so hard that it cracked it. So he certainly never went easy on me. He always made me work for the baskets that I got.
But sadly, you did lose your mum to 12 years ago now. You were so young when she passed. How did you get through that?
It was honestly a bit tough for me because I hadn't really, experienced any kind of big loss or that before. But I suppose just having the support of my friends and my family and just working through that, and, it's something that's going to hurt for a while, obviously, so time always helps that kind of thing too. But definitely having, those personal connections to be able to lean on people helps a lot.
And from a sporting perspective, when you're travelling the world like you have, and you've got your dad obviously, but you haven't got that relationship where you can call your mum and just sort of, vent over being upset with how you're playing or missing home and those sort of things. We know the relationship between mother and daughter is so different. Like, have you found that to be a real challenge as you've travelled?
Yeah, I think so. It's always challenging to be away from home and away from your friends and your family. But luckily, I am really close with my dad, and he's he won't let me saying it, but he wasn't a very good listener previously, but I've got him to the level where he'll listen to me, with my problems and such without always trying to give me the solutions to them. Sometimes you just want to vent, so I'm lucky to have my dad. I've got a really close relationship with him, so I often will call him to talk about any problems or that I'm having.
And having his sporting background as well, when it's different having a dad or a mum or anyone in the family who knows something about sport and knows that the pressures that are associated with it. When it's really tough, is it nice to be able to just turn around and say, "Oh, you've experienced this. Tell me what you reckon about this," or "The coach is annoying me." How did you find your coaches? Or things that we all talk about when we come away from a sporting event.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm so grateful that he's been in the same situation as me, not only to have played sport, but to have played it professionally as well. it's really good to be able to have someone else's perspective and, get advice and things from him that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get from somebody who hasn't played professional sport as well, because it's professional sport. It's a whole different game to, just, weekend sports, social sports.
How much have you enjoyed being able to play in front of family, friends this time? So you're in Adelaide one year, then it was the hub season in Queensland where no one could go, and then you missed out last year. So this is your first real opportunity since back in the Waves days, which was a long time ago now, to actually play in front of people and show them what you can do on the national stage.
Oh, I'm so happy that I can play at home. I've got such a great group of friends, some of which come down for every home game. As you mentioned, my dad, he's always down there every single game. One of the first people there always to watch us warm up. So my sister too. I'm really grateful to be able to just have my friends and family watching, because it just means so much to have them to be able to come and support me, see me, do what I do best, basketball, what I've worked on for my whole life. I'm just so happy to be able to have them here.
And it's a massive game for the team this week. The Flyers are 3-2. You guys are 2-3. It's already clear that Bendigo, Melbourne and Townsville are going to be really good. The Flyers are in that fourth spot. Does that make this game even more crucial, given you're just below them on the ladder?
I think so. It's honestly, at this point of the season, every game is super important, just because, as you saw last week, Adelaide beat the Flyers. Anyone can beat anyone, so it's such an important game for us to just get over this little hump that we've been having recently. I think against Melbourne, we definitely didn't bring our best that game, so it's a good opportunity for us to lift our effort levels and really show everyone what we can do.
As far as the season has gone, your 3 losses have been to Melbourne and Bendigo, so 2 losses to Melbourne, one to Bendigo, and they're 9-1 as a combination this season. Your 2 wins have been against Sydney and Canberra, and they're 0-10 as a combination this season. So you've played the top teams and you've played the bottom teams. Do you have any idea whether you're any good yet? Because you haven't really been given that chance to play the teams that would be sitting around you. You've just played the really good ones and the strugglers.
I think we've shown that we do definitely have the potential to be really good when we do play well. Last game against Melbourne, we were neck and neck right at the beginning. So I think we definitely have the potential, as long as we're, as a team, on the same page and working hard.
And you wouldn't be able to shoot any worse, would you, than as a team than what you did over the week? It felt like everything that went up just would not go in under any circumstances.
Yeah, we certainly had a tough shooting game that day, but, I do and Ryan trust all of our shooters. That's what, they're here for. Put up shots, put up 3-point shots. We know they can do it. So I don't have any doubts in them. I don't think Ryan does either. It was just a bad game, I think. And
for Lynx fans or any basketball fans, the opportunity to see Lauren Jackson live, it's not something that people, as I said, have seen her here since 2009. It's a really rare opportunity. Would you encourage everyone to get out, cheer against her, and hopefully get you girls home, but get the opportunity to see her and potentially meet her post-game, because she is the biggest name that this sport has produced in this country?
Oh, absolutely. I think any opportunity that you get to come and watch Lauren, because she's not only such an icon in Australian basketball, but she's just a lovely human being. And I think any opportunity you get to come and see her, you should take it.
And you got some tricks up your sleeve. I'm not going to ask you how you're going to... Is there a little something around that you might be thinking, I'm going to try this weekend and just see what we can do?
Yeah, I might have a few things up my sleeve.
Oh, that'd be true. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the game this weekend. Like I say, Lauren's in town, and to see the Lynx showing what they can do against a team other than the top or very bottom. It'll be a real test to see how you are going. So thank you very much for your time. You're a terrific story filled with character, perseverance and skill. So hopefully the trajectory remains onwards and upwards for you from here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Dribble podcast. Remember, you can read all of your basketball news in the West Australian newspaper and keep logging on to thewest.com.au. Thanks to Brady Manek and Jessie Edwards for their time. Thanks to the wonderful Shannon Bevan for her production work. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Dribble podcast.